Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Carlin Kearney, and I serve as the Professional Development Chair of the Research Triangle Professional Chapter of National Society of Black Engineers. As host, I would like to welcome everyone to the Professional Development Series titled Certified for Success, a panel discussion on the certifications and licensures required to level up in our careers. Next slide. Next slide, please. You can go to the next one. A few housekeeping items. If you are on Zoom and you are not the host or one of the panelists, please mute audio and turn off video. Since we are recording, we would only like to show the host and panelists and the presentation for now, and then you can unmute when we get to the Q&A session. Please use the chat feature. We ask that you send questions to everyone in the chat. Facebook friends, we have a member that will be reviewing the questions. So if you don't want to forget your question, you can go ahead and label it as Q&A and then type the question. Again, use it to everyone and not just the private chat feature. That way, if you have any questions or technical issues, everyone can see it. Moving on. Meeting survey. Please fill out the meeting survey. We have a QR code below, but we also will put the link to the survey in Zoom and also in Facebook periodically. Please help us help you. Effective communication benefits not only our chapter leadership, but the membership, and it fulfills the need of the organization of the National Society of Black Engineers. Next slide. Now, I would like to introduce to some and present to others our chapter president, Tony Arnold Mcfarland, who will segue into who we are and the purpose of this meeting.
Thank you, Carlin. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody, for joining us tonight on getting certified for success. I'm excited to have you with us. Hope you enjoy the call, and please stay in touch with us. Also, thank you to all the panelists who've joined us today. And we're going to go ahead to the next slide. What I want to just give everyone just a brief introduction of the National Society of Black Engineers. This may be your first time attending a NSBE meeting, and we call that NSBE, NSBE, that's how we say it. In 1975, NSBE was founded at Purdue University. And since then, the organization has grown. In 1988, alumni of NSBE were established, and today we call them the professional chapter, and we are the Research Triangle Professional Chapter of NSBE that serves Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And there's also a NSBE Junior entity now that was established in 1990. We do have an NSBE Junior chapter that has approximately 40 members, and we'll talk more about that a little later on. And NSBE as an organization has over 24,000 members, 600 pre-collegiates and collegiates, and we are actually international. And the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the special interest groups in a moment. But first, let's talk about the mission. Now, when we are in person, we would normally ask everyone to stand, but since we are virtual, I will just repeat the mission and you can read along with me. The NSBE mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. And tonight, you are helping us positively impact the community. We have a goal to graduate 10,000 Black engineers per year by 2025. And thank you to our panelists and our guests, and we'll probably have some special guests who will chime in on some of the information we'll discuss tonight. You're helping us succeed professionally as well on tonight. And our next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about our special interest groups. So as a member of NSBE, one of the benefits is that you get to participate in all of these special interest groups. And I'm going to let you take a moment and take a look at those. And what is a special interest group? Well, these are signature programs of NSBE chartered chapters, and it allows professionals to stay linked to what's relevant in their field. You do have to be a member to participate in these special interest groups because each interest group has a national director, and they will send additional information, and they also have programming that happens alongside what we're doing locally. So tonight we're focusing on certifications, but we are focusing on those that are specific to the process improvement SIG, the transportation SIG, and the IT think tank SIG. Now, as you can see, that's only 3 of them, and there's quite a few other ones here. In our chapter, we actually also have WISE, Women in Science Engineering, and we also have launched the Entrepreneurship SIG. So tonight, like I said, we're only focusing on these 3, but as a member, you would have access to relevant information about your career at any of these. So that's one of the key benefits. All right, and the next slide. So our moderator for tonight is Elliot Locke, and I'm going to let Elliot go ahead and take over from here.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks, Carlin, and thanks everybody for coming out tonight. So first off in our program, as Tony mentioned, we'll be covering different certifications and license that you can receive to help catalyze your career. And first up, we have our Project Management Professional PMP certification. And tonight speaking, we will have Tiara Roberts, who is a business analyst and program manager at Cisco Systems, and Lori Glenn, who is a senior project manager and works at Blue Cross NC. If you all could please share a few words about yourself.
Sure. So thank you for the introduction. As stated, I work for Cisco Systems right here in RTP, and business analyst, professional, and program manager. I specialize in business requirements gathering that falls under the business analyst spectrum. And I also manage multiple programs within our service management spectrum. So, Loria, I'm not sure if you wanted to say a few words about yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to NSBE for this opportunity. My name is Lori Glenn. By education, I'm an electrical engineer. I have a BS and a master's. However, my day job is a senior project manager at Blue Cross in developing software in their IT area. So some of the applications on Blue Cross's website, as well as some of the tools that they use internally to manage the business, the teams that I work with are producing. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for both sharing that about yourselves. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
So just a little bit about the project management professional, or the PMP certification. What is it? Well, it's more of a specialized training that's going to provide the student with theoretical understanding across all 5 of the domain areas outlined in PMBOK, which is the Project Management Book of Knowledge. And of course, those 5 areas are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, as well as closing a project. This certification is globally recognized across a multitude of industries. As you can see, I have some listed at the bottom of the slide, but they're not limited to that. You can pretty much serve as a project management professional across any industry. Organizations are always seeking certified PMPs because they feel that that person would possess the experience and the knowledge of standard project management principles that would aid in increasing project success rates, and that also, minimize costs and maximize the outputs when delivering on their projects. Did you want to add anything on, Loria? More about what it is?
I totally agree with everything you've said, and I would also say that my personal story in transitioning from IBM to now Blue Cross, when I was looking for a job, the very first thing people would ask me was, do you have your PMP, as I was looking for project management jobs. So it does come into play in situations like that. And like Tiara said, every industry has some sort of project management. You may not call it that, but there's some sort of project management that's happening in every industry.
Now, just to speak to that, Lori, a little bit, in the past, I always imagined that every project manager would have the title project manager, but like you just brought out, there are other roles that fall within this career spectrum. You don't necessarily have to have that title. As stated, business analysts would have sometimes do project management work. Engineers could benefit from having a PMP certification because a lot of times they're managing and directing project work. They're also having to monitor a budget, keep a project under control. And so there's so many different career paths that you can take within project management, and which a PMP certification you would find beneficial. So I just wanted to add that. Myself personally, I have been managing projects for about 15 years, but I did not always have the project management title. In fact, I accidentally fell into this role because it seemed that no matter where I went, I was taking the lead or managing projects or doing this. And so eventually I was like, okay, maybe this is just where I need to be, right? Because this is what I'm doing anyway, despite the title. And that's kind of how I embarked upon this path. So I just wanted to point that out. You don't necessarily have to have that title in order to pursue this certification. So could you go to the next slide, please? So why pursue the certification? I'm going to speak from a personal standpoint first before I talk about the many reasons why it's good to have that certification. But for me personally, it was the industry recognition. As a Black female, managing projects and working for Fortune 500 companies, they're not always ready to hand over these million-dollar projects to you, without having some degree of recognition within your industry. It's not as easy to get those high-dollar projects or those special projects, the ones that you want to be aligned to at work that can advance your career. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue the PMP credential. Because of that industry recognition that comes along with it. Because you have to think about what PMP certification means. It's guaranteeing that employer that you've had between 4,500 and 7,500 hours of project management experience, actually leading and directing projects, and that you also have that educational background that complements that experience. And so I have an MBA and I have PMP credential. And the reason why I want to point that out is if I had known what I know today, I probably would not have returned back to school to get my MBA, and I would have sought PMP certification right after obtaining my bachelor's degree. Because in all honesty, MBA is very generalized in its study, and it's meant to produce managers, which is a great thing. But when you're looking for project-related roles, it's nice to have that specified education when it comes to managing projects, and it holds more weight, and the salary comes along with that. So if that's one of the reasons why you're interested in the field because of the potential and salary, you definitely want to consider PMP certification. And I was just going to say, in addition to that, employers know that your experience and your education is validated, because once you submit that application, there's an audit. They're going to audit your application. They're going to look into all of what you said. They're going to check and make sure that you meet those requirements before even allowing for you to apply and sit for the exam. And so with that being said, the employers can feel more comfortable about handing you those high dollar accounts, those big projects, because they know that you passed the very difficult audit that PMI kind of has every candidate go through before approving them to sit for the certification. Loria, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure, I'll also give my personal experience. So it's actually a funny story. In graduate school, I took one semester of project management for software development when I was getting my master's in electrical engineering. And I told my instructor, I will never do this again. So fast forward a few years, got a job at IBM and started in a business analyst type role, and then moved into a project management type role, but did not have the credentials. And when I saw what was happening at IBM at that time, they were globalizing, moving lots of jobs overseas. So I said, what can I do to set myself apart from my peers? And so having that, deeply technical background in a software development area, I chose to do the PMP. And like you said, it was one of the greatest decisions I have done career-wise, because it set me apart. I think I might even got a promotion like right after that.
Yeah.
And then whenever I changed jobs, once people saw PMP after my name, there was no question, because like you said, like Tiara said, it comes with a given that you have a certain level of understanding of how to lead projects.
I was going to say also, just in tune with what we both have already mentioned, it is one of the top paying certifications in the world. PMP certified individuals, they typically earn anywhere from 20 to 25% more in salary than those that are serving in project management related roles that are not certified. The average salary range, especially here in North Carolina, is about $80,000 to $110,000 a year. And when you get to the higher end of that spectrum, I would say that's more IT field. Although you can function as a PMP across other industries, the higher end of that pay is definitely going to be in your IT related fields. But it's in high demand. I was doing a little bit of research before this, right? I wanted to make sure I could put some numbers behind the words. And I saw there was an interesting study that the Anderson Economic Group performed here recently. And they were looking at from now to 2027, they're expecting the need for project managers to grow by 33% globally. And that's supposed to add an expected amount of 22 million new jobs between now and then. So with that being said, right as of July 2020, PMI said that there was only a little over 1 million certified PMPs across the globe. So that tells you right there that there's a huge talent gap, and there's an increasing demand for project managers that are certified. And so that's among some of the other reasons why, it's a good idea to have the credential. And how do you achieve this? So I'm pretty sure people have heard nightmare stories about, Lori is laughing because everybody, I'm sure, has heard at least 1 or 2 nightmare stories about PMP and how hard it is to fill out the application. I'm not being a negative Nancy, right? I just want to be real and while we're talking about it, because I think that's important. But it's definitely not the easiest application to fill out, but I will say right now, because of the pandemic, they have really let up on some of the they've let up on some of the things that they check when it comes to the audit, so it doesn't take as long. And what used to maybe take a full day and or either you need to sit down and talk to somebody to help you fill it out to make sure you're filling in the right details for your project management experience, now you can probably fill out that application in about 30 to 45 minutes online, no lie. And something else I wanted to point out is with the pandemic, you don't have to worry about scheduling to sit for the exam in person right now. So if it's something that you're trying to do before the end of December, it's actually a great opportunity to do that, because now they're offering an online proctored exam where you can take it right in the comfort of your own home, and you can schedule it for any day, any time. So some of the stipulations around that application have expired because of the current circumstance that we're in globally. So just wanted to throw that out there. But as indicated on the slide, you do have to have experience to sit for the PMP. They do have a lower level certification that you can achieve if you haven't had the experience required to meet the PMP, and it's called CAPM. So that's also something to consider, or CAPM. But the exam is 200 questions. And I am going to be honest with you, it took me every second of the 4 hours that they allot for that exam. Lori is agreeing to complete all 200 of those questions, because you find yourself, reading back over those questions, making sure, that you got all your ducks in a row. Because something that I had to do, and I just feel the need to mention this about the certification, when you're prepping for the exam, this is a major tip anyone considering to take this should keep in mind. You need to empty out of your head everything that you know about project management from your hands-on real life experience, because it's not going to be based on that. There are so many things in PMBOK that I do not do on a daily basis at work, but that's not how you answer those questions on that exam. That's a quick way to not pass your exam on the first attempt. So that's just something I wanted to mention as far as a tip goes for those that are looking to sit for that exam soon. And the other thing is join PMI, because you get the support throughout your career if you join the local chapter. They also give you a lot of tools that you can use online as far as templates for various things you might want to use. But the other thing is membership will help you with the costs, because it's not a very cheap exam either. The exam is $555 if you're not a member of PMI. But being a member drops the fee down to about $405. And a lot of times you can get your company to pay for it. A lot of the companies have a professional development track for their employees, and there's a budget set aside for that. They're not going to outright tell you about it. You may have to ask, or inquire of whether or not some of that cost could be covered. And you can take it 3 times. And if you don't pass it those first 3 times, then you have to wait a year in order to reapply for taking the certification. So just wanted to throw that out there. Once you achieve that credential, it's valid for 3 years. And in order to keep it valid, you have to meet a 60 PDU credit requirement within that 3-year period in order to qualify for renewal. But other than that, it's a great thing to add behind your name. It's a wonderful credential. It carries a lot of weight, and it's going to unlock so much more opportunity for you from a career advancement standpoint, and not just that from a salary standpoint, because the ducats matter. Let's be real on that too. So just keep that in mind. Definitely something worthy of pursuing. Loria, do you have anything else you want to add about the slide? Or
I agree with everything that you've said. I'll just add that with the continuing education that's required to keep your credentials in good standing, there are a plethora of ways to get those hours continuing education. And as Tiara mentioned, being a member of PMI allows you to get access to webinars for free. And so I literally just renewed my PMP certification 237 days early, because I was able to do, being at home every day, can do these webinars, and you get credit for your work experience and volunteer experience. So I'll get credit for this time being on this, supporting this event, as well as volunteerism, supporting the and promoting the career field. So don't let that, deter you from wanting to get it, because you never, ever, ever want to take that test again.
This is true.
If you're going to keep it.
In closing, because I know they have some other certifications that they want to go through, I do feel the need to mention this. The exam is going to change January the 2nd. So if you've been studying and you've been prepping based on the current version of the PMBOK, you want to take that exam before January the 2nd. If not, you will likely need to take another bootcamp prep course. Because there's going to be some changes. I think they're including a little bit more about agile project management practices in the newer version. There might be some other changes. If I'm not mistaken, I heard they're going to increase the processes. So right now there's 49 processes that you'll be tested on the exam, but starting January the 2nd, I think the number of processes changes. I'm not exactly clear about what that number changes to, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So right now is a great time, because of the simple fact that it's way easier to have your your application approved because they've eliminated some things in that approval process. And then you can take it online at home in the comfort of your own home. So, you know, you're already more relaxed and more in tune with self because you're at home versus being in the testing center. So just some things to think about there. And, you know, I'm around. I think they'll probably share our contact information at some point in time at the end. If anyone would like to reach out and get some pointers on maybe trying to identify a good boot camp or just some tips around studying, because that's the biggest thing. You don't want to read the PMBOK page to page. It is a boring read. It is dry. You will never get through it. And it will not help you pass the exam reading it that way. There's some specific things that you want to focus on. And I'm more than happy to share some information about that if anyone wants to chat offline.
Just one last thing I want to add. If anyone is in transition as it relates to employment, there are some courses out there that will be either discounted or I have seen some free opportunities for folks trying to make changes in their career based on being laid off. So you can definitely look into that, as well as traditional courses. So there are opportunities for folks to get the education you need in order to pass the test. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Same here. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I greatly appreciated your presentation, and it was wonderful. So thanks for taking the time. I wanted to relate that for the PMP certification, that is most related to our process improvement special interest group. So for those of you who are seeking to get involved and learn more, in addition to what was mentioned tonight, you can join that special interest group and learn more. And we wanted to take a moment to just introduce a few people, and excuse me if I miss anybody, but we wanted to acknowledge that Russell Marzette was on the call, as well as Takia Saab, Nick Tarver, and the actual director of the process improvement group, Georgette Harrison. And so we appreciate you all for representing NSBE on the national and regional levels and for coming out tonight.
Hey, Elliot, is it okay if Tiara and Loria put their contact information if they want to do so in the chat or LinkedIn? Because I know Tiara has to leave. Okay.
Tiara and Lori, if you feel I guess okay with that, you can put it in the chat box.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks again. So now we'll take one or two questions, if anybody has any, before we move on to the next subject. You can put it in the chat.
And there may be some others in the on the call who do have this certification as well. So if you have this and you want to just recognize you in the chat, that'd be great so people know who has it. And if there's some interested, just put that in there as well.
And so we've got one from Herman Jean-Baptiste, and he would like to know, or he or she would like to know, do you recommend someone who is entry level to get their PMP certification?
Here, and you can comment as well. I would say this: if you're interested in project management and you're looking at it from a career perspective, whether being traditional project management or you see the opportunity to leverage it, as soon as you have the credentials, the hours and the experience and things that you could fill out that application to sit for that test and be able to take the time to study for that test, I would say do it, because it would be nothing, there's no negative that I can think of related to doing it early versus late. I actually told myself I probably should have taken it a few years before I did, but I definitely would recommend it if that's something you're interested in to go for it, regardless of what level you are in your career.
Agreed. I would have to agree with Gloria. And I was just going to say, sometimes we shortchange ourselves when it comes to representing your experience on the application. Everything is a project. Everything that you do, trust me, it's all in the wording. You need some help with that, let me know. But seriously, you have more experience a lot of times than what you give yourself credit for when it comes to that section. And that's something that I've learned over time, because pretty much everything requires addressing it with some type of process. So like I said, it's just all in the wording, and I would definitely encourage doing that as early as possible. And if you don't have your if you're not ready to sit for the PMP, like I said, they do have a certification right beneath that, which is CAPM. And honestly, if you were to get that certification, that would help you meet your requirements for PMP, because they do give you some credit for that certification when it comes time to sit for the PMP, if you're just too nervous about trying to prepare for the PMP just yet.
So Tiara, we did get a few other questions in the chat. I know you're gonna have to leave shortly. Can you answer those in the chat and just put the responses to them? People want to know if this is something that's a good step towards Agile. Agile is a good step towards PMP and things like that. So if you can, we will save this chat. So if you can just look through there and put you or Gloria can answer those there.
Absolutely.
Hey, Tony, this is Jonathan. I'll respond in the chat also, but I have my PMP also. And then, so basically, you definitely want to have some hands-on experience with managing projects. You don't need to have the title, but you want to have some actual experience, like running projects or being involved with projects, because some of the questions are going to be phrased around what would you do in like this scenario, that scenario. So it'd be good if you had some of that hands-on experience.
And I think that's going to be true about other ones in that process improvement SIG too, Agile, Six Sigma. We'll talk about all of those a little bit, but once you get into this process improvement SIG, and I'm in that SIG, I'm not going to say it's the best one because that's the one I'm in, but I really enjoy it because it's so much information, and our leaders do a good job of getting it out to us, and you can see how there's overlap and there's continuity with the other certifications. So I'm sending the shout out for the process improvement SIG tonight. So Elliot, anything else on this one before we move on?
Not unless anybody else has any last comments or words of advice. But once again, thank you, Tiara, and thank you, Lori. We greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead, Johanna. Is that Johanna?
Yes.
Hey, Johanna.
Hey, I'm in between this webinar and making cookies in the kitchen, so I'm in and out. For someone who's pursuing a PMP, which would be me, I've had deferred success. What would you recommend in terms of studying?
So that's what I was saying. Have you been trying to read the PMBOK from beginning to end? Is that what you've been using so far in your study practices? I'm just curious.
Previously, I have sat for it a few times and had deferred success. I have the PMBOK, I have Rita McCulley's book. I also have, I think I have another book. So I've taken 2 boot camp classes.
Right.
Last 5 years. So I haven't actually read any of the material probably in several months. And my application period just ended like right after Thanksgiving. And I know I have to put my application back in. That probably won't be a problem, but I'm trying to get like a good study plan together. And also with my job, I've been taking Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt training classes. And I'm wondering, I feel like they kind of go hand in hand because it also talks about process improvements and some of the same things. And I think that would help me in terms of some of the information, but just wanted to see if you all had any recommendations on a study practice.
I do. I think we're out of time, and I don't want to eat into someone else's time to talk about their certification. But I was going to say, if you reach out to me, or
Okay.
either or send me a message with your
Okay.
email. I can
Okay.
send you a lot of information that I
Okay.
think would be helpful. I know something that I had to do every night up until the day that I took the test was I actually have some templates that I created. I'm more than happy to share them with you
I would love
to
it.
help me learn and drill down on those 49 processes that you might find helpful. And then just there's some formulas that are most certainly going to be on the test, and you want to make sure that you understand those formulas and have them memorized. And I know right before I took my exam, the little scrap sheet, or right now they're giving you whiteboard, I dumped all of those formulas, all of those processes down, so that I didn't have to think about it when I was going through the test. I could literally go back and look at those notes and quickly answer those questions. And the only other advice I have about the questions is that it's really about looking for the keywords. They try to trick you. You know, you got to look for that.
Yes, they do.
You know, there's keywords in all of those questions. Half the time they give you a paragraph and you only need like 2 sentences out of that paragraph to answer the question. So it's just a matter of learning how to pull out what's most important from that information and looking at those keywords, like which one doesn't, or which one is, or so that you can make sure that you're selecting the best answer, because there will be situations where there might be more than one answer that technically is correct, but one is better than the other. And so that's how they get you on that exam. But I do have some tips and some study guide material that you can have along with your books that I'm more than happy to share and send your way.
Okay, well, thank you.
No problem.
And I just connect you two ladies on text, so you have each other's numbers now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right.
And thanks for that question, Johanna, and thanks for the great answers. And thank you again for your time and your presentation. So now we'll go on to our next presenter, who is a certified Scrum Master, and that is Gary Bussy, sorry. I'm still trying to, I guess, make it French, Gary. But Gary Bussy, who's PMP CSM program manager from Cisco Systems. If you could say a few words about yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Gary Bussy. No, as you all can see, I'm not French. No, honestly, you know, this was a great actually lead in, because my start of my IT career was as a project program manager. And then for a number of years, I spent time as a Scrum Master and in the Agile world when I was with Deutsche Bank at the time. And, you know, one of the things that's particularly about this particular certification is really to understand, and you can go to the next slide, by the way, too. It's really to understand the Agile methodology and understanding what it is and what it means to have a foundation for that respective book of knowledge. You know, when we talk about Agile, we talk about a process that starts with planning, and then your design and development, and then from that point going into your analyzing and then testing, and then it's all part of a process and all part of an approach that you have to understand how to take a particular product and move it through its respective life cycle. A lot of times when we talk about Scrum Master, you are coaching, which is much different than your standard project manager. Your project manager in a lot of realms basically leads the project. They dictate how and what's going to be done. But for a certified Scrum Master, you are actually encouraging, you're more in a situation where you are developing thoughts with your peers, your engineers, and the focal points that you have on your team to bring out results. You have Scrum meetings, and you have these processes that are defined that are helping to make you a particular person that can help with your respective career and for that particular project to get completed in a certified or relative time frame. A lot of Scrum Masters have sprints, and with the sprint duration is typically 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the most. So there's a lot of things that have to happen in a short period of time. But as a certified Scrum Master, I will honestly tell you that the certification itself is much easier and much less intense than PMP. PMP took a lot longer in terms of preparation versus the Scrum Master certification. And actually, I gotten 2 certifications back to back. I did Scrum Master, and then right after I did the Scrum Master, I did the certification as a product manager, because again, it was all related to the Agile world. You can go to the next slide, by the way, too. And as part of it, you have to understand what it is that's going to be helping you with your respective job role, right? And your job title. A lot of things that's happening in the Scrum world as a Scrum Master. The one thing I was able to definitely do was immediately apply it to what I was doing as an everyday Scrum Master, based on the certification and the material that I was learning as part of the exam. The exam itself only requires about 25 hours to sit for that respective exam of class time, which is about a week long. And you have to be in class for that respective amount of weeks, or for that 1 week, and then which is, basically 3 to 4 working days, right? But you have to have a lot of product or project management or hours associated to a project. I think it's usually about 2,000 hours, something of that nature. And then once you're able to go through that particular part, you then at that point get a better understanding of the terminologies that are used within the exam, right? I would highly profess to any and everybody to understand the role first, live the role before just jumping in and saying, okay, I want to be a Scrum Master. Well, have you ever ran a Scrum, have you ever run a Scrum team, right? Have you ever been part of a project team? A waterfall team is much different than a Scrum team, right? Or an Agile team for that matter. So you have to understand and completely understand the difference. And you have to understand if your company and which respective role are they supporting, right? Are they a Scrum Agile company or organization versus are they a waterfall organization where they want to have the project manager dictate the timeline and write the project plan and all that kind of stuff. And so when we talk about how and what it takes to actually be a Scrum Master, in my experiences, again, as I stated before, the very intense period is within the last 3 weeks. When I was preparing for my PMP, it took a lot longer. A lot more classes, a lot more time that you had to put in and understanding all the different parts of that respective exam. Where if you come with a breadth of knowledge in working projects, Scrum Master is a lot smaller duration, okay? You typically only need, with Scrum Master, 1 course, which is usually about a week. What I have here typically associates to your PMP exam, which you have to take fundamentals and all these other respective courses. But as a Scrum Master, typically speaking, 1 to 2 courses is typically fine. But again, it's the job experience. It's the time that you need to put in as a Scrum Master or working on a Scrum team that's going to help you the most, right? The cost typically is between $500 to $1,000. A lot of times, which it was in my case, the company will pay for these respective exams and also the prep classes, right? So that also is going to help as well too. I heard the young lady who was making cookies ask about, well, what do you need in order to be successful? For me, when I was successful on my ITIL, when I took that respective exam, PMP, when I sat for that exam, was my first certification, and then again, most recently, Scrum Master and Product Manager. Those respective exams, I typically bought software that was specialized in those exams, which had you train your mind on what you needed to understand about that exam and the answers they're looking for, not necessarily what you think is the best answers, but the answers and approach that they're looking for. So when you went to the exam itself, you understood the answers that they were actually expecting you to provide, right? And that's a lot of times the game changer with a lot of certifications. I know that it was also spoke about a little earlier about, you know, the benefits and the whys in terms of getting your certifications. And I completely agree. Yes, it is a game changer. It is also too trust as well too. You have a trust with that respective organization, that company that's looking to hire you. If you have letters behind your name as a Scrum Master, then yes, it is going to make a big difference. They're going to want to at least start the conversation and talking to you. And so it's important to understand what it does for you in your respective career. And it does make a large difference as it relates to your salary. I started out at IBM, had no idea of my net worth. And then honestly, I went out there and I said, I'm gonna test the industry. I went to HP and literally within a week, my salary, went up probably about $25,000 just because of the fact that I had a certification in the area within project management. And then it went on from there on other respective certifications. So these are the things that are extremely beneficial to you, which I highly believe that will advance your career as a certified Scrum Master, also as PMP as well too. Ellie, I'll open myself up for questions at this time if anybody has words that they want to share.
Thank you, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the chat, yeah, people, you can put your questions into the chat and I will read them.
There is one question in there from Al. Because Scrum is such a niche framework, are there as many opportunities as with PMP, Gary?
First thing, excellent question. And I would honestly tell you, yes, there are. But I will say this, okay? PMP is one of the top jobs that are out there salary-wise. I believe I heard Tiara and also Lori speak to it. It translates to so many different occupations. You gotta get it, right? I can't stress that enough. Scrum Master is great to have, okay? But is it gonna get you the same salary as a PMP? No, it's gonna be great. There's a lot of industries, a lot of companies that are using the agile approach. Okay, a lot of them are adopting it, right? But I will say, if you want to be across the board, have PMP first, but also pursue, because a lot of initiatives and projects are using the Agile methodology. So Scrum Master is very important as well too.
Thanks, Gary. And then there's a question from Georgette. Is there a specific Scrum certification one should look to attain?
No, I honestly, as a Scrum Master, you simply need to understand the Agile methodology. Once you have a thorough breadth and understanding what Agile means and the life cycle of an Agile project, honestly, you will be at the top of your respective team, because you have an understanding of what a sprint is. You have an understanding what stories are and how to write stories. You have an understanding of a Kanban board. You know, these are the different terminology. These are the different things you learn and you manage as a Scrum Master, right? These things define the Agile approach. And so, no, there's not a relative different type of Scrum Master from one company to the next. They may have their minor nuances in terms of who's providing that Scrum Master certification, but there is a basic understanding of the Agile approach.
Thank you. And a question from Tony, well, more of a kind of a request is, could you please recommend a reputable certifying agency for Agile training and Scrum certification? Excellent
question. I use SAFE. SAFE was the organization that came to Deutsche Bank at the time. They did a great job of defining all. And here's the other thing as well too. Let me make sure this is clear. Other than, you know, having to, I believe you have to pay every few years to keep your certification. Just like PMP is one and done, right? You ain't gonna have to go back and, you know, unless you made laps or something like that. And I'm not sure if that's, you know, what those, I mean, you'll be notified. SAFE will notify you of, you know, what your timeline is and coming up and those kind of things. But I just, that was a company that I used, and that came to our respective organization. So SAFE is an excellent organization that certifies Scrum Masters and product managers as well too.
Okay, do you mind if I mention Scrum Alliance as well?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead, Laura. Yeah.
Scrum Alliance is, I think it was one of the first, I think, to start certifying people. And if you go to scrumalliance.org, I believe it is, I'll research the website and put it in the chat. But they list different courses by different vendors on their website, the day and the time, because I just did my product owner certification a couple of weeks ago. So Scrum Alliance is, like SAFE, one of those tried and true places you can go to get information about education and other activities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point, Laura.
And we'll take one more question, and it's, I'm a certified SAFE 4 practitioner. Any recommendations for upgrading to SAFE 5?
Wow. So I am not familiar personally with SAFE 5. I could get back to whoever asked that question with some more detail. I still do a lot of trainings and coaching with SAFE. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have a whole lot of detailed knowledge, so let me not misspeak on what the SAFE 5 details are as relates to that. But if you provide your information to me, I could definitely get it for you very soon.
Okay, and thank you, Gary, for that. Mm-hmm. And so we just wanted to say thanks for your presentation, and thanks for all of the helpful information. And I'm pretty sure, I know it's helped a lot of people so far tonight. So if we had a round of applause, it would be a round of applause for Gary. So thanks again.
Yeah. I'll consider when I go to Paris to change my name. Bousse, I got it. Oh, I'm working on it. Thanks, Elliot.
You're welcome, and have a good one. Well, thank you. So next on our list, we have the Professional Engineer PE license, and presenting that tonight will be Carlin Kearney, who is a professional engineer, transportation traffic engineer working at STV Incorporated. As well, we will have Jamie Fuller, who is also a licensed professional engineer. He works as an airport project manager / engineer for the Division of Aviation at the North Carolina Department of Transportation. If Carlin, you could tell us some about yourself, and then Jamie.
Sure. Thank you, Elliot. Again, my name is Carlin Kearney. I am a licensed engineer in the District of Columbia and also the state of Maryland. That's where I started my career, actually. And I'm in the process right now of gaining licensure in North Carolina, South Carolina, a whole bunch of other states. Why not? But I just recently moved to North Carolina, and I had been with STV, the same company, for about 8.5 years now, and have since expanded my discipline to not only just traffic, but transit and planning, hence the whole transportation engineer, more so for vehicles, pedestrians, I don't know, bicycles, scooters, anything safely and efficiently from point A to B. So that's what I do on the regular. Jamie?
Cool. I'm Jamie Fuller, also a professional engineer. Actually licensed in Virginia and North Carolina, so 2 states down, probably from where to go as well. I started my career actually in traffic engineering for about 5 years in Virginia, moved to Raleigh, now work with airports. So it's pretty same civil engineering field, but different mode of transit in the sense. So I'm happy to be here to talk to you all about the PE license.
Thank you, Carlin. Thank you, Jamie, and thanks for speaking tonight.
You're welcome.
No problem. So I'll start it off and then I'll pass it off to Jamie now. What is a professional engineer? Obtaining a professional engineering license is obtaining the highest standard or level of competence for an engineer, which renders a symbol of achievement and assurance of quality. This is an indication to your clients, your employers, and your peers that you basically mean business. Just like the PMP and all these other certifications, having a professional engineering license sets you apart from those who have just graduated with their engineering degree. Licensure is by state, it's state by state, and it permits the candidate to provide engineering services directly to the public, and it must be maintained on a yearly basis by professional development hours. So Jamie will get more into the backbone of the benefits of licensure, but know from this slide that graduating with a degree in any of these fields that are listed, I mean, mining, nuclear engineering, petroleum, fire protection, industrial engineering. I myself graduated with a civil engineering degree. This is a very exhaustive list. And it means that you already have the education required to pursue licensure. So what's next is really gaining skillful experience and passing the principles and practices of engineering exam. So I'm going to pass it off to Jamie. You can go to the next slide.
Next slide, yeah. So again, you're probably asking yourself, why should you pursue this kind of license? Again, it just shows your commitment to being an engineer. And again, it just shows that you're committed to the highest level of being an engineer. And also, you get to sign and seal your own plans, which is a big step. So it's it's kind of a, you're just at risk, but you're saying that, you approve of with this design, and pretty much by law, you're responsible for your design or whatever you have stamped for your plans. And again, if you work in the consulting field, it's pretty much required to have a license in a sense. And even with state government, I should work in the state government, and again, it's pretty heavily weighted for getting a license. And again, it's all about ethics of being an engineer. And again, based off the law, you're responsible for whatever you put out there as far as your design. Again, with the career options, I mean, once you get your PE license, the doors are pretty much wide open for you. People love seeing you with your PE license. They know you can do the work. You've achieved that credential. So again, job opportunities are more open to you. So again, it opens up so many doors for your career profession. And then again, how you go about getting it. Again, you must have an ABET accredited degree. ABET degree from the school that has the accreditation, which most schools are, but not all of them. You must pass the FE exam, which most people usually take that exam their last year at college or first few years out of college, just because it's so college or tech heavy exam in a sense. And so most of what you learn throughout school is on that first exam. Once you pass that, you become a EIT, then you must obtain at least 4 years of work experience under a licensed engineer. Again, this is to help you build that career path to become a licensed engineer. There are a lot of prep classes out there you can take. They average about $1,000 roughly. But again, most companies will help you pay for that course, pay for the exam. And then once you get your 4 years of experience under a licensed engineer, you can sit for the PE exam. And again, the exam is, I think, an 8-hour, well, it was 8-hour exam. Now it's, I think, maybe a 6-hour exam now. And the biggest thing I would say for that is just, again, do your practice problems, do lots and lots of practice problems. You can bring your notes into the exam, which is a good thing. You can bring any sample questions in there, but again, it's all about knowing where to find your information and doing the practice problems to really know the material information. So that's pretty much just the PE license, I would say. But again, it's definitely a very beneficial one to obtain.
I definitely want to add to it being very beneficial. Companies are really in the business of organically growing engineers. So they want you to work for them, gain that experience from them, because they want to retain you. They want to retain you as an engineer as you pass your last license. So they invest. Most companies invest in taking care of your prep courses, the exam, the applications to get a license. They invest in that, and then they also give you that nice little bump when you get past, just like the PMP. I'm looking at salaries, and I think what really grabbed my attention was when my boss sat me down and was just like, hey, you need to get your PE, and he draws me like a little graph, and he was like, here's your salary right now, and this is what it's going to look like as soon as you get your PE. And it was just an exponential line that just kept continuing to go up, and best believe that happened. So I'm very thankful that I did have a boss that was very supportive, but I also had the company that was very supportive of me gaining my licensure.
Definitely. So, I mean, you can take any questions about the exam, but again, I think it's a wonderful thing to aim toward.
So if attendees could put their questions in the chat, I'll ask them. Okay. First question is it worth getting your PE if you are a mechanical engineer?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, I think all engineers should have a PE license. I mean, no matter what your background is, whether you're mechanical, computer, or whatever. Like Carlin said, it's worth showing that you are competent in your field. So it just shows that you know your material. You can take on these extra projects being a PE. You'd be responsible for your own work. And again, you get that pay increase as well. But yeah, no matter which engineer you are, definitely shoot for the PE.
And I can chime in on that one. I have a mechanical engineering degree. I can say that at my job, I would say anyone who's going to go into design, if you're going to be working in product development and design, it's worth getting the your PE license. So kind of works across the board. And it's a lot of responsibility. I mean, you're going to sign off on safety and structures and calculations. So it's a lot of responsibility. And if you want to handle that and that's what you're pursuing and you have worked and you feel, very confident and capable of handling that, then I would say, yep, you should do it. It's not something that you take on lightly. It's something that, I've even heard at work, sometimes people have to go ask a PE something before they make a decision on what they're going to do next. So people will come to you, asking for advice on how they should pursue a design. So if you're actually really interested in going into design, I would say, yeah, you definitely want to do it. Now we included this under transportation because under the transportation SIG, I would say maybe Jamie and Carla can confirm this, but in the transportation industry, since a lot of transportation, I guess if you're dealing with structures, roads, and things of that nature, you're doing a lot of design. It's not like you have an option in mechanical where you could do some things that don't require design. You could do some other things. So in transportation, from what I can tell, it seems that it's a little bit more sought after. You can actually work in some of these other ones and get pretty far without having it. But I would say in transportation, you say that you can get further quicker, or either it's a little bit more weighted heavier there in transportation. Is it most people really want to get that in transportation because that's most of the work you do is designing?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mainly design. I'm more traffic operations and design.
Okay.
But especially if you're trying to sign and seal some signal plans, roadway plans,
Right.
drain,
Bridge.
And it's heavily
bridge,
regulated, so it's a heavily
structures,
regulated
heavily.
industry as well. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would. That's why we put it under transportation, because if someone is interested in this SIG, then this is a very highly sought after development step. So that's kind of how I think we should go about that one. So yeah, that's great. I really admire you guys for that. I feel like we have our own firm so far. Everybody heard tonight,
It's interesting you say that, Tony, not to go off subject, but that's something that our intellectual property, I believe, chair, I know his name is Jesse Fenty, he always talks about at the conferences that we should be promoting our members to be more, I guess, entrepreneurial in terms of using their skills to create new things and new companies. And so it's a good point. I had a question for you, Jamie and Carlin. In the previous session, or actually in the PMP session, I believe it was Tiara had mentioned when the certification expires. And so I was wondering, does this certification ever expire?
Yeah, so it's a state by state basis. Some are 2 years, some are 1 years, based upon your jurisdiction, but it does expire. So you do have to re-up on your application. You don't have to sit and take that 8-hour exam again, for sure. Like, that's one and done.
Yeah.
But it's really making sure that you have your professional development hours. So while you're working webinars like these, or defined in our case, transportation or civil webinars will count towards our professional development hours that we have to log. And each state is different. Some, require 16 development hours, or, but you can potentially get audited. So you really have to, you definitely have to track what you're doing, and make sure you're signing up on that. I was on that call. They know I was on that call, and they'll provide that information. So if you do in fact get audited, you'll have all your background information. But it's professional development hours, and typically about a year.
Okay. And I guess just a few more, thanks for answering that. And there was a follow-up about the Herman wants to design machines and robots, and he was asking if it would be better to get the professional engineer license or a PMP certification.
Why not?
Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I would say both. I mean, that's actually my goal is to get my PMP next. But yeah, I would say both of me is good. Because you'll probably need both in some part of your career. I think at some point, you know, for your
Yeah.
designs, the P is good, but then you probably have to manage a couple projects, I would imagine. So PMP might be good for that aspect. So yeah, I would say go for both of them if you can.
One thing I did respond to him and say is that you don't find as many PEs as you do as the other certifications. So it's kind of it's I'm gonna say it's a little outstanding because you know you're gonna find all these other ones. You'll find a lot of people have those, but you don't come across as many people who are PEs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you gotta choose one, I would say the PE because you can probably hire a PMP to work for you, but you may not have the opportunity to hire a PE.
And I will say, you know, one last thing is that it's good, you know, to take it when you feel ready. I mean, the longer you wait, I feel like the harder it is to remember
To
all the
get
information.
Mhm.
So you can take it. I think Lori said, you know, she heard earlier. So I think you can take it, you know, as soon as you can take it, the better. Because the more you wait, you know, after you have college, you have family and kids, whatever, it's harder to study for those exams. So if you got like now during this COVID time, you have time on your hands, maybe is a great time to pursue a certification. So yeah, when you feel ready, definitely go for it. Because if you wait too long, it's a little harder, I think, just to retain all the information.
And the reason we say that is because as you work, you are working mainly in your discipline for the most part. You're gaining all your experience. For me, I was gaining all my experience in traffic engineering, but the exam doesn't incorporate just traffic or transportation engineering. There's water resources on there, there's structures, there's construction management, there's, you know, ethics. So it covers the whole gamut of civil engineering. That's the exam that I sat for. So everything about civil engineering, I still had to retain, and all those classes that I took in school, I took a prep course, of course, to get back into it. But that's why the closer you get to, as soon as you're able to sit for it. And in some cases, I think either I think South Carolina or North Carolina, they allow you to sit for the PE now without waiting 4 years. They won't license because you still need 4 years of progressive experience, but they will allow you to sit for it because, you know, all of that information is still so fresh in your mind.
And thanks for answering that. And we'll take one more question and then we'll move forward. So I think we don't have another one, but I had one just to ask, what happens if you work at a job where there are no licensed professional engineers for you to work under? Because I'll expound on that. For chemical engineers, you sometimes don't see that license for us as much as the other majors. And so I was just thinking, like when I was listening to Jamie, it sounded like it would be, you know, a good thing to do as an engineer in general. But so what do you do if your industry or your field doesn't revolve around that license?
I mean, if you love what you're doing and it doesn't require a license, and your direct reports and your supervisor and their supervisor, you know, do not carry that, and you thoroughly enjoy it, unless you're ready to make some sort of career change where you are sitting under a PE, it may not necessarily be required. But if you're looking to obtain your PE, you have to sit under and gain your experience under another PE. So
yeah, because they'll ask you that on the application whenever you're trying to apply for, you know, sign that letter says you have supervise this person for X amount of years, seeing their work. I can, I support them and take the exam pretty much. So yeah, like you said, I mean, some people need it for a career change or just to move up in their career. Some people can be just fine without it, but yeah, you do have to have that, like you said, that experience.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Well, if there are no other questions, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Carlin. We appreciate you giving your talk tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving forward, we have next the Six Sigma certification. And tonight we'll have Dr. Antonia Arnold Mcfarland, who is an analytics lead at John Deere and is CSSB and ASQ certified, and is also the president of our Research Triangle Professionals chapter. Tony, if you could, just say a few more words about yourself.
Thank you. And actually, if you want to advance the slide, I think I may even have it up there. But that CSSBE stands for Certified Six Sigma Black Belt. I did work as a Six Sigma Master Black Belt for about 10 years. I don't have a Master Black Belt certification, but I worked as a Master Black Belt for 10 years. I just recently started an analytics lead role November the 1st. But as Elliot mentioned, I am the president of the chapter, and I was a part of NSBE undergraduate, not as involved as I am right now. I'm making up for all that time, that I didn't get involved in undergrad. And I went to North Carolina State University. I majored in mechanical engineering. Aerospace was what I interned in, but I ended up working in facilities maintenance, and now I work for John Deere, and I work in quality. So as we were talking earlier, I have mechanical engineering background, but I worked in design just for a brief period of time as an intern, and since then I've been in like manufacturing and operations and now quality. And for my career, my certification is something that it really can be used across multiple industries. When people, say, well, how are you using it? Where are you using it? I became connected with it when I was working in manufacturing. I got a chance to do a lot of what's called kaizens. And as a Japanese word, that means to change, to make change. And I did about maybe 7 of those. In a kaizen, it's kind of like you take a whole area and you improve it, you make it more efficient, more productive, you shut it down. It's maybe over several days. We did some that were up to 2 weeks, and we reorganized the whole factory that way. And after participating in those, I got interested in more process improvement. So that's why I was talking about the process SIG. If you like process improvement and continuous improvement, then this is a certification that you may be interested in, as well as PMP, as well as Agile Scrum. And process improvement is kind of your niche. It's kind of like your gift. It's your thing, and you're going to do it wherever you are. Doesn't matter if you're at work, doesn't matter if you're at church, doesn't matter if it's your family reunion. You're going to get on people's nerves and irritate them with process improvement. I will say one thing about Six Sigma, though. It is a data-driven problem-solving methodology. So you do have to understand the tool set. And that's probably the same thing with the other ones. I did kind of look at the PMP a little bit, but it is a statistical approach. So you do need to appreciate statistics. And I'm not going to say you have to love it, but you're going to have to appreciate it and understand it. And also know when to use the tools and when not to use the tools. The next slide, Elliot. Know which tools to use when. I'll just say it that way. And the main thing about it is that you're trying to do what's called breakthrough gains. Like if you have something that you really want to make a major improvement in quickly, you're going to use Six Sigma tools. And it's really about making sure that the customer is happy, is satisfied, that the customer's needs are met. And like I said, you can use it across multiple industries. Career advancement, It gets you ready to be a leader. You may be leading others in projects, so it does use a phase method, similarly to the PMP. You may often find that a lot of people who are green belts or black belts also get their PMP. I did take a training class and was a lot of PMPs in there, as well as QEs, people who are certified QEs, because you're going to use a lot of the quality tools in this as well. And you can use this for your own personal ventures. You can use it for your work. If you're going to start a company one day, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I would advise you to study this material. You don't have to go get certified if you don't want to, but at least study this material, because a lot of the people who have this background eventually end up consulting and being business consultants. Now, there's different levels in the Six Sigma tool set. The first one, some people call it the white belt. I just call it Introduction to Six Sigma. The next one is a yellow belt. When I took my when I started in Six Sigma, there was no white belt; it was just yellow belt. Yellow belt is just using the terminology. You can be on a team. Green belt is the one that kind of gets you more towards, okay, I'm running projects within my department. And then black belt is I'm teaching other people how to use the tools. I'm coaching green belts. And then master black belt is I'm coaching black belts. So you don't necessarily have to do white, yellow, and green to get the black belt. I didn't get certified in those. I just did the black belt. Because, I was like, hey, that's the one I really want. So I'm not going to take the test for the green belt. I did take the green belt class, however, but my manager, kind of like what Carlin said, my manager came to me and was like, you're going to get your black belt. I was fine without it, but my manager's like, if you're going to grow in this department, you're going to get your black belt. So that's how I got on that path. And I'm glad that I did it, because I've been working in this field using the tool set since 2008. Now, there's a lot of routes to this. I use the American Society for Quality. It's recognized globally. I will say that there are a lot of companies out there who offer Six Sigma certification. So you need to be careful about, the agency that you are choosing. Now, one thing that is important with Six Sigma is that you have experience practicing. And I heard the other panelists say that as well for their certifications. It's about practicing what you do. I know a lot of times students are like, they just want to get certed up. They're not even sure why they want to get certed up. They just want to get a cert. No, you really need to know how to use the tools, okay? I don't want a pilot who just got his license and hasn't been flying for 20,000 hours. I want 20,000, not 2,000, right? So you need someone who's got a lot of time in what the tool set is that they claim they're demonstrating. So that's the most important thing. If you're practicing the tools, and taking the certification and the exam is going to be easier for you because you've already been practicing in it. Same thing with the black belt. Use the tool set. Have a coach. I advise everybody to have a coach, because someone needs to make sure you know how to use the tools. The ASQ process does have an affidavit. You have to have, it's kind of different. So you can have 10 years in and one project, or you can have less years in two projects, so that they don't have like a straight cutoff. They kind of look at the candidate holistically based on the number of years you've been working in your field and the number of projects that you have worked on. So there's an affidavit. I suggest that you take an exam class, as well as take the training. So before you take the exam, you need to go through a training class on the body of knowledge, just understanding the tools. And then you need to practice by doing projects. I probably did about 10 projects before I even did, my black belt exam. So this happened over a period of, I would say, from the time that I took the black belt class at work. So my job offered it, so I took that at work. A year had passed. And then I went back and did the exam. So I practiced on projects for about a year. Then I went back and did the ASQ Black Belt exam. I took a class to prepare me for that exam. Once I took that 6-week class, I took the exam. So it's not something that you're just going to go take the exam and you're good. This is kind of like a curriculum that you're going to work towards. If you want to be good now, this is a curriculum you're going to work towards. And when you're ready, you will take the exam. And that's how I tell people to approach it. Now, the green belt does not require you to have projects. You can study for the green belt and take the green belt ASQ. You're not required to have a project to take the green belt ASQ. The green belt ASQ is merely there to get you ready for the black belt. It's to say, hey, you know what? I know the tool set. Now I can go be coached by a black belt on projects so I can become a black belt. So, and for some people, the green belt is enough for what they're doing. Maybe that's because the green belt has gotten a lot more rigorous now than it was when I was coming on. So green belt may be sufficient for your field. Everybody may not need to go to the black belt or the master black belt level. So that's kind of the route I took. And next slide, and maybe I might have one more slide in there, one or two more. I even use this for my dissertation, which is in ministry. So I have a doctor of ministry and creative arts, and I am also a musician, and I've worked as a music ministry consultant. I have several books, but I actually use Six Sigma as a methodology for what I was doing in ministry. So you can use this, like I said, in anything that you're trying to improve if you want to do that with quantitative and qualitative analytics. And I've actually helped other people complete their doctorates by doing the analytics for them. So the certification is definitely, I've been able to use it in a lot of different ways. It has afforded me career growth, community opportunities. I could go on and on. I don't regret it at all. There was a lot of time invested in it. It probably took me a period of 2 serious years to focus on it, but it has definitely paid for itself. Now, overall, I may have one more slide in here. I want to say I probably spent about $1,000. However, the classes have gotten a lot more expensive. Next slide. I think my next slide might talk about this. Maybe it doesn't, but I have one more. So I spent about $1,000. However, I did check recently, and the class expense has gone up. So the basic training class right now is about $1,000. That's just a class on understanding the black belt material. Now, I would suggest once you've taken that class and you go practice on projects, that you take more preparation for the exam. I paid $600 for my prep class. A prep class now could be more than that. It may be closer to $1,000. Okay, you also have the exam. The exam itself is about $540. Also, you're going to need some study material from the Quality Council of Indiana. They used to have a primer. It was about $200. There's also some simulations that you can take now. I would budget about $2,500 to $3,000 if I was doing this exam today, just based on the current cost of taking it. Your company may pay for that, and your company may even offer some training classes that you don't have to go out and take on your own. But I would strongly advise anyone who's interested in this to just connect with me outside of tonight, just for some more one-on-one guidance on it. Every industry doesn't need to go all the way to black belt, and they also have now different types of certification through ASQ that might be better suited for your industry. I know they have a transactional version now. There's one for software, I think. So there's a lot of different certifications offered by ASQ and there could be one that's more suited. So before you get too deep in it, I'll be willing to talk to you about making sure this is the right one, and that you have a reputable certifying agency that's going to be recognized in the industry that you're in. So I'm going to stop and see if there's any quick questions.
Thanks,
Hey, Tony.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Tony. This is Aguna and Joku. I'm on the process improvement SIG. I definitely appreciate your comments. I just have a question / comment, but I just think you're spot on as far as one of the recommendations you made was the Council of Indiana primer. That's what I use to take the Certified Six Sigma Black Belt. I'm a Master Black Belt, but I will say this just as comparison to some of the other certifications, because I also am a Scrum Master and PMP. I think that CSS Black Belt, it was one of the hardest exams I have ever taken. And I didn't take a class, but I did use the primer. It helped me out well. But it's just for everyone. And I took it a long time ago, so it was open book, and it was in the it was in the classroom, but it was
that's how I took mine too. It's about 4 hours over, and I use every second of it.
Every second of it. So yeah, I definitely wholeheartedly agree with you as far as just making sure for the audience that it is about experience. So if you get these certifications, just make sure that you can walk the walk and talk the talk, and definitely understand the methodology, but also be able to apply it in project settings, because at the end of the day, it's about closing projects, making improvements, gaining efficiency. So I guess the question to you, Tony, is what would be some of your biggest accomplishments applying Lean Six Sigma, as far as
Sure,
making some improvements?
I would say that in 2018, that was a project that I did at work. This was probably my biggest gain for the company. It was in excess of $500,000, maybe more than that. A project that I coached someone on, and we actually won a regional conference with this as well. But it was, I would say, just kind of going through processes and using our tools, we were able to find a way to save a lot of money and replicate it across the company. So that, I would say, was probably my biggest achievement with this so far.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question, and thanks for your great presentation, Tony. Are there any other questions? Please put them in the chat. We'll take about 2 more.
Elliot, for the sake of time, I'll just answer them in the chat. I don't want to run too long. I know we have a few others, but if you do have some other questions, just put them in the chat and I can respond to you that way. Thank you.
Okay, and thanks, Tony. And similar to, Tony's book, moving forward, we'll be moving forward to the next slide, and moving forward to our Sas Global Certification program. And tonight we will have Devetta Dunlap, who is an instructor and curriculum consultant for Sas. And we will have Becky Gray, who is a senior exam developer for Sas. Thank you for being able to talk with us tonight. If you could introduce yourself.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm Becky Gray, and I'm a senior exam developer at Sas. I've been at Sas for 6 years, and I'm currently studying for one of the Sas credentials. I don't actually hold one, but my colleague Devetta does, and I'm going to let Devetta introduce herself.
Thanks, Becky, and thanks, guys, for inviting us tonight. I am Devetta Dunlap, and I guess my official title is Principal Training Consultant and Curriculum Consultant. And basically what that means is I teach classes on our Sas products, and I do hold several of our certifications. And I actually switched into a new role where I do provide curriculum consultant to folks who are interested in trying to figure out which exam they need to pursue, where do they start in terms of their certification journey with SAS. So Becky, I'll let you take the next couple of slides and then I'll pick back up. So
Okay. All
again,
right.
thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been impressive. You guys are, you know, I'm just so impressed with all your accomplishments. I'm like, where do they find the time? So anyway, yeah, next slide, please. Thanks, Elliot. So the SAS certification program is a professional industry standard. It falls into the IT certification space. The purpose of the program is to validate that you have obtained and can practice SAS skills and knowledge that you have either learned through on the job or through the SAS training classes. The other purpose of our program is to expand the global pool of individuals with SAS skills, and we want to be able to provide value to both our candidates and our employers. And people are looking for people with SAS skills. If anything, it's grown in 2020 with the pandemic. I think you've seen on the news every night, you know, all the charts with, you know, all the data, the clinical trials, all of that stuff. A lot of that stuff that goes on at the different hospitals and whatnot, that's SAS being used to do that number crunching and to help with that data for the clinical trials research. So the need for people with that kind of skill set has increased. We have 30 credentials. The primary credentials that we have fall in the programming space with SAS programming with our base specialist and advanced, business intelligence and analytics, data management, advanced analytics, platform administration, and then we have JUMP exams. JUMP is separate software. It's still part of SAS, but it's a separate software, a slightly different platform. And we have some certifications in that space. And then we have partner certifications, and they are restricted access. The program started in 1999, and SAS itself is a little over 40 years old. And we've awarded over 160,000 credentials to 190,437 individuals. So next slide. So why would somebody pursue a certification like this? Back in 2018, Pearson Vue, who's our delivery partner, many of you may also have taken exams through Pearson Vue. This is just some interesting data on why people pursue certification, and it was specific to the IT certification industry. So I'm not going to read all of these to you, but you've got the slides here. But you know, a lot of people, you know, 55%, for instance, wanted to apply you know, what they had done in a certification to real work, you know, situations. And these are some of the main reasons people go about getting certified. And interestingly enough, I thought it was interesting, only 35% said they wanted to do it for salary increase. So, okay. And Devetta, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point.
Thanks, Becky. And we'll just keep it on this slide for just a second. So as an instructor, one of the first things I will ask students when they come to class is, hey, why are you here? And when they're in a training class, sometimes it's just my manager made me do it. I really didn't want to come, but they said I got SAS and I have to learn it, so I'm in here. Sometimes we had training dollars left and we wanted to get some classes in with SAS for the year. But when we look at certification, there really is a different focus and a different reason for folks getting certified. So if I had to say the main reason, it's just like all the other certifications. Folks are either looking for a bucket where they are wanting a better job or a promotion, they're in transition, or they want more money. As Becky said, 35% say they want a salary increase. And then sometimes folks just want to do it to improve their skills, and it looks good as a resume builder. So those are the buckets. And as you can see, these survey results kind of attest to that information. So Pearson Vue is the company that administers our exam. And as a subject matter expert with the base certification exams, I actually have written questions for that exam and done review for our certification prep guides. So of course, over the years, it has helped me having that skill, but we didn't always have these certifications. And I think they've added value, as you can see, to folks in the workforce. If you can go ahead and switch to the next slide, that'd be great. So the big question is, on your journey to becoming SAS certified, where is the place to start? So we have great resources on our website. You can see the site listed here, www.sas.com/certify. I always tell people, if you are new to SAS, the first place to start is with our SAS Programming 1 class, which is knowledge that you need for the associate and the base SAS programming exam. And then you can take our SAS Programming 2 course. And that's what will prepare you for those programming exams, and then you can advance to some other courses. The website, as you will see, will have lots of valuable resources, like information about the current exam, the training that you need, the skills that will be tested on the exam, the objectives for those exams. We have lots of different study aids. And of course, we want you to take a training class and have the experience, but we have lots of different information about how to prepare for those exams in addition to taking the classes. So we have sample questions that you can download. If you're a person who already has SAS experience and you're thinking, I want to take this base SAS programmer exam and get that credential, you could take our sample practice exam, which is set up very similar to how we test in a real testing practical environment, and see if you're ready, right? So if you have those skills, you may not need to take a class, or maybe you just need to take a refresher class. We also have lots of YouTube channels that can kind of help you with some of those different skills in preparing for training. But what I will say is, Becky mentioned the 30 different areas and certifications that we offer. Some are really a little bit more specialized. So like our administration exams, if you're not a person who is administering and you're an administrator for creating licenses and loading software, that's probably not the exam for you, right? You can't just take that class and then pass the exam. It does require basically getting hands-on, writing scripts, loading software. If you're a person who's a programmer every day, you wouldn't qualify for that exam, but you definitely would qualify for the SAS programming exam. So I think it really depends on your focus area and the skills and tool sets that are being used specifically with SAS. Next slide, please. I want to go ahead and get to the rest of our material. So if you can advance to the next slide, that'd be lovely. So one of the cool things about our certification is, like Becky said, we're trying to narrow the gap of SAS skills for our newest certification, which is in data science. There's going to be a shortage in data science. And so if you take the exam, which is offered by Pearson Vue, we write the test questions, they administer the exam, you actually get a digital badge that you can put on your social media sites, in your LinkedIn, in your Twitter, in your email signature, and you can share it with the world. Basically what that does is it lets people know that you are certified. If they click on the link, it takes them to the Acclaim site that really shows, right? You can't just copy that badge and put it on your site. You have to actually select it, accept it, and then you post it, and folks can see, oh yeah, you really do have that credential. One of the great things about the Acclaim site, once you do become certified, is that it will show you different careers and learning paths with the certifications that you have with SAS. And I was going to look up with one of the websites, dice.com, it talked about a lot of the tech jobs that are seeking SAS skills. And of course, number one SAS skill is in the data statistics and biostatistics area. So there are about 49 to 41% job postings that require that. So if you're interested in data analysis and statistics, then you might be looking at our business analyst or advanced analytics types of certifications. The other cool thing about our Acclaim site, once you do become certified, is there are lots of labor market insights. And with that, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. That the labor insights will show you in Acclaim different folks and jobs that are looking for certain skills and folks that actually have those skills. Again, more dollars, more information, more success in your job and in your company. So next slide, I think we have one more slide that we'll take a look at. We can advance that slide.
That's
Is that the last one?
Okay,
Was that the last
maybe
one?
she, yeah, she
Yeah,
maybe
I was
have
thinking, I'm
combined
thinking about
those.
our old deck. So
Yeah, that's okay.
again, I definitely think it's worth it for you. Again, if you're just starting out, you've been using SAS for a while, probably the place to start would either be with our associate or our base SAS programmer credential. And then again, looking at our website to decide where it is that you want to go and grow those skills next. Again, I think there's going to be a shortage of data scientists in the future. So that's our latest and greatest credential. That one requires a little bit more time. So with our programming certification, it requires taking the training classes. And then again, depending on who you are and how much experience that you have, you may be able to take the class and then maybe 2 months later, take the exam. Some people, it takes longer because they're not using it in their day-to-day. So it really just depends. The data science exam is a little bit more rigorous. There are lots of different classes. And Becky, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there are a total of 9 different exams you have to pass in order to get that final credential.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, all of that is listed on our website. So pretty much that's it. I know we've got about 5 minutes left for questions. So I will put my email address in the chat window if anyone wants to follow up with me. I've gotten several messages saying you're using Enterprise Guide or you're using SAS. Can I talk to you offline? And you all are absolutely welcome to contact me anytime. I'll do devetta.dunlap. You don't have to pronounce my name correctly, but you do have to spell it correctly if you're trying to find me at SAS. So I have put that email address in there. And I know they have our final slide with all of our pictures and our information. So if you have any questions about SAS certifications, definitely reach out and contact me.
I just wanted to mention the way I got to meet Devetta was because Devetta has served as one of my subject matter experts in the exam development process. So Devetta is a skilled item writer. So,
That's awesome. And if you could just kind of say just for a moment what your background is, like Devetta, your background, is it in statistics?
My background is in statistics. So
Okay.
I started out with a clinical research organization. As you know, SAS used to just be statistical analysis system, but we are in lots of Fortune 500 companies. So I started out as an assistant biostatistician, and basically I was writing reports and wrangling data for information from studies that were going to the FDA. And I then got my job at SAS actually doing training. So actually teaching folks how to use the software that I had been running reports and doing data analysis with. So that's kind of how I got into SAS, got my foot in the door as a trainer, and have had several careers, I guess, at SAS. I've been there for 27 years. So worked as a research and development tester as well, and then have worked as an instructor, a course developer, subject matter expert, test writer, and reviewer, and then most currently doing curriculum consulting and answering just all sorts of questions about everyday questions and how you solve a problem to, I've got this specific question from a class I don't understand, can you help me figure it out? To what classes should I take, or what certifications should I pursue? So Becky, I'll turn it to you.
I have a background in instructional design, and I have a master's degree in instructional design and training and development, adult training and development. So from NC State. So
And
Oh, another wolf pack.
Wolf
Yeah,
pack
look at
in the
that.
I'm
house
NC
tonight.
State as
Yeah.
well. So
I
that's where
know.
Tony and I have that connection.
That's right. And Elliot as well. Elliot, maybe
Yeah.
some other ones. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
Elliot looked familiar. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So any questions for Devetta or Becky? Now, I'm going to be in touch with you guys because my new job is all about SAS.
I heard that.
So
Yeah,
you
I know.
guys,
I
I
took
might
note
be
of
sitting
that.
over there tomorrow. Y'all might see me in the parking lot.
all right. Well, none of us are at the parking lot
Oh,
right now.
okay.
We're all
So I'll
working
be
from
there by
home, but
myself.
we can always hook up on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will be in touch with you guys because my new job is all about learning all this SAS software. So,
Okay.
any
Awesome.
other questions for them?
I just wanted to say I love your motivation, Tony.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to get retrained and upskilled, but I am, I'm not, I guess I got some more wind left in me, So it's gonna be all about enterprise guidance SAS. That's what it sounds like. Now, one thing I want to comment on too that Devetta said that analytics is a highly sought after skill right now. Data fluency is highly sought after. We use SAS at my company. A lot of companies use SAS products, but just across the board, if anybody's looking to upskill, learn how to do anything within analytics, business insights, analytics, data science, anything dealing with data, in order to be more agile. So this is how all these dots connect. In order for companies to be more agile, they have to use machine learning. They have to use artificial intelligence. We can't just use human brains for everything. We got to let data talk to us and teach us stuff. So if you're looking for, hey, what can I do to make myself more marketable? Take data analytics. Learn how to do something with data analytics.
Yeah, I think there's in 2020 there were 250,000 jobs posted that had something to do with data science.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Elliot, I want to, just before, I don't want to close too soon without having Georgette Harrison. I know she's from the Process Improvement SIG. They actually have a cohort right now where you can go take some data analytics training. And I'm going to see if she wants to just say a little bit about that or anything else real quick. Georgetta, do you want to say anything, Georgette?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. I'm the new director for the Process Improvement SIG. And Tony caught me off guard. I have to pull it up, but I know that we have a partnership with Correlation One, and their goal is to get a lot more people of color involved into the data analytics space. So they have a free 13-week course that they offer, and that there's an exam that you have to take to qualify, but it's free. It's on Saturdays, and most of the instructors come from institutions such as Harvard, MIT, Penn State. So it's a very reputable program, and it's free. So what I will do is I will drop the information in the chat, and also the Process Improvement SIG landing page, which also will have those events and things listed. Also, if everyone is here a NSBE member, go into your NSBE account and select the PI SIG. That way you can get on our listserv and you can see all of the wonderful things that we're doing monthly. So we do a monthly spotlight every month. So this month is actually our technical director for our SIG, who is Perry Walker, who is a master black belt. And he is covering Lean Six Sigma. Next month is actually myself and Dwayne Allen. We will be talking about optimization and industrial engineering, because between he and I, we have 3 industrial engineering degrees, also 2 MBAs. I recently finished my MBA, excuse me, in May. And you can find out about all of the things that we're doing in the SIG. And this was a great workshop, everyone, because a lot of the certifications you all covered, either our SIG members have them or even our SIG board members have them. And so we definitely appreciate the time today, Tony. I will put our overall SIG email address also in the chat. So if you all have any questions or if you're looking for any information, feel free to contact us. And I will also post I will find the Correlation One information and put it in there this evening as well.
Just wanted to say congrats on your MBA.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. And did Russell want to say something quickly as well?
Absolutely. Good evening again, everybody. I just want to say just a quick few words about leveraging the SIGs as a whole. And before I do that, I want to say this was an awesome webinar. So thank you to the chapter for putting this together. But leveraging the SIGs as a whole, not just for certifications, but for certification related experience and certification related practice. So the SIG's full strategy is in the area of research, outreach, advocacy, and development. And so the SIGs are not just, the SIGs are undertaking projects, and in some cases, they're undertaking programs. And so this means there are opportunities to, there's always opportunities to work towards PDUs and continuing education, but there's opportunities to get real experience, real hours on projects. So that's, and I think that applies to Six Sigma. I think that applies certainly to PMP, gaining experience there. That applies even to working towards your PE, because there may be a PE running a research project within one of the special interest group. It obviously applies to Scrum. You may have an opportunity to practice those skills there. And so, you know, looking at the SIGs to gain the experience and practice, practice your skills and learn the tools, not just get the certifications. I would ask you to, as the SIGs continue to deploy the road strategy, I would encourage you to reach out to them and see not just where you can get a certification, but where you can engage actively and help work towards your certification in more of a synergy. And so there's a lot of ways you can benefit from engagement. So that's all I wanted to say. Again, thank you. Great webinar this evening.
Thank you, Russell. And Elliot, do we have any final, or maybe Carlin, the next slide?
Yes, if you want to go to the next slide, Elliot, I think we have just a few announcements that we can quickly run through. But yeah, again, the meeting survey, please fill it out. Like I said, at the beginning, help us help you. We want your feedback. We want to know what your background is. We want to know how we can better serve our chapter and NSBE. So please fill out that survey. I think yes, the links have been posted in both Facebook and Zoom. Next slide, please. So on behalf of the National Society of Black Engineers Research Triangle professionals, I would like to present to all the panelists a certificate of appreciation. Your name will be on here and everyone will receive their own certificate. This is for your voluntary efforts serving as a guest panelist participating in Certified for Success that was held today and hosted by the RTP chapter. So everyone will be receiving it. Thank you again for taking the time out to share your certification, your experience with it, how to obtain it, your personal value, and we look forward to continuing this conversation with those that joined in with us. Next slide. So Tony, I'm going to tag team with you in getting these announcements pushed out. So
sure.
If you want to put the next one, our general body meeting is Tuesday, January 19th. I think we're looking to have some sort of update about the vaccine for COVID-19. So, and then additional chapter activity that's going on. So please save the date on your calendars for the third Tuesday of January. I think it's third. The Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Next slide.
I'll chime in on this one. So actually, we have a few fundraisers that are going on this year. Last year, we were the chapter of the year. We also got regional awards, got six awards. So we had this commemorative shirt. It is a fundraiser. So anybody on the call tonight, anyone you know, if you want to support our chapter, you can go to our website, rtpnsbe.org, on how to purchase a shirt to help us out. In the next slide. We also have a honey baked ham. So if you're going to be if you're going to eat ham for Christmas, you might as well get one from us. Order a ham, and it will help us with our fundraiser as well. So think about us if you're going to be ordering hams for the holidays. And the next slide as well. We have 6 teams that are NSBE junior students. I'm going to say K through 12. I don't know if we have any kindergarten, but we have first grade this year through seniors. And what happens at conference is we have students who will be participating in challenges, expositions, and competitions. So we have the Imagineers who are going to be meeting tomorrow on the video challenge. That was the middle schoolers. We have Immunity, which is a high school team that's going to be working on the research of the vaccine and how it affects people of color. We also have Voyagers middle school team. They're going to do research on earthquakes. We have Exponential, which is a team that's going to do the trimathlon. We also have First Lego League, the Visionaries, which is a team here in the white shirts. They were coached last year by my robotics team, which is another organization, and that's them in this photo. So they're participating in the national conference. We also have a new team, First Lego League team of little boys called the Extraordinaries. So all of these teams will be participating in the conference, but we do have registration expenses. So if you want to help out with that, we do have information on our website under supporting our mission. We have a corporate package there if you want to look at that, or get in touch with me directly, or our PCI chair on how you can help out. And the average cost for us registering a full team is about $300 to $500, depending on how many students are on that team. So that's what we're going to be focusing on over the next few months. And our national conference is going to be in March. So we're trying to get them ready for that. And this is how I would make sure we have a pipeline to grow engineers. And anybody can be a member of NSBE. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be Black. You just have to connect with our mission and support what we're doing. And our next slide. We also have a scholarship. The deadline is January 3rd. John Deere is offering 2 $1,000 scholarships to a student that is attending an ABET accredited engineering school in the Region 2. So if you know a student that is could use $1,000 and they meet the requirements, send them to rtpnsbe.org to apply.